Our next guest on the Any Given Run Day podcast is a triathlete who has multiple AG podium finishes around the country. He has represented Ireland in the World Triathlete Championships, led a team of 4 to the second Mondello 24 last year, and recently back from Nice, where he competed in the Ironman World Championships. Rob Dwyer, welcome to this week's episode of the Any Given Run Day podcast. How are you getting on?
Not too bad. Thanks, lads, for having me.
Rob, am I right in saying you weren't always into triathlon, were you? This is only a reasonably recent thing.
Yeah, like I would have gotten into triathlon, would have been June 2023. And it was only like
2023.
pure chance. And like at that stage, I think it was in June, I done like it's like a tri-tie and a tie. It's pretty much you could walk the swim, and then I done that.
As long as you
and
missed
then
the
I
trolleys.
literally just
No.
yeah. Yeah, no, literally after that one I was hooked, and I was just like, I want more of this. And then I think the next event didn't really come up till the end of the calendar year, kind of race calendar year, which was Pikeman in Wexford. And I think that was the kind of year that they kind of had the tragedy in Cork in Ironman. So the swim in Pikeman got cancelled, and happy days for me, because at that stage the swimming wasn't great for me. So we started off with a 5k kind of run to kind of lead us then onto the bike. But like that's all I pretty much done in 2023.
Rob, what made you sign up in the first place? Where did that come from?
Where did the foundation come from? Yeah, how did you go from nothing to triathlon hero?
Yeah, no, it's just we started off the league with the club, and I was just it was kind of niggling at the back of my head, kind of going, these younger lads are getting way too quick, and I just can't keep up with these. So I think after the league, I was just kind of
And this is
done.
in
hanging
Hurling,
up
is it?
In Hurling, yeah, sorry. And I was like, I'm kind of done, hang up the boots, and the car was due for a service, and I brought it into my friend. And at this stage, he was already doing it that I would have hurled with. And he was like, look, he says, I have a sport for you. He says, this is just made for you. He says, and I said, look, he's like, this event is coming up in a tie. He said, it's grand, easy. Like, you don't have to do any training. He says, just go in, enjoy it. So with that, then I was back, bought a bike, bought a tri-suit, wetsuit, the whole lot. The birthday was coming up, so that literally landed on the birthday. So literally, it was all the birthday gifts at once gone into it. So yeah, and that was it. Really, we got into it. Like, so it's his fault that I'm after falling into triathlon.
It is expensive, so people listening to this would be like, we talk a lot about running, Rob, and well, I suppose from GAA, you know, a pair of boots and a hurl and off you went. Running is a pair of shoes and off you go. Triathlon can be expensive to get started. What approach did you take with that? Did you buy entry-level stuff just to see how you go?
Yeah, no, I pretty much bought everything that was entry level, because at that, like, I didn't know whether I was gonna stick with it or whether I was gonna really kind of take off. So it was literally entry level. Even to this day, like the wetsuit that I bought from the get go is the wetsuit that I'm still using. So it shows as well, like, even though you're buying entry level stuff, you can still use it. It's not that it's any quicker or any, do you know what I mean? The more expense that you're spending is not going to make you quicker. It's you yourself that gets quicker.
Don't be saying that about my bike. And what was it? A lot of people, and I've fallen into this trap myself, and I understand. I can't explain it. What is it about that first triathlon, finishing that first triathlon? What is it about that feeling that makes you want more?
I don't know what it is. It's like you said, it's hard to explain. It's just that even sense of accomplishment that, like, you're taking on 3 different disciplines and you're combining it all together, and just the sensation of completing 3 different things all at once. And I think even for me, like, even stepping into the Ironman, even doing those distances, like I've done the double marathon, like, so it's trying to combine all that together. Like, it's just a sense of accomplishment, just even going through all that, the sense of relief, and just different emotions you go through. You know yourself, like, Eric, being out on an Ironman course, you're out there a good while, like, and like that as well, you kind of get into your own head as well when you're kind of off on a bike there for a few hours.
You have a lot of time to think about all the wrong choices you made.
Yeah, you're like, oh, why am I doing this?
When your mate said to you, "This was the sport for you," take me from someone who goes around swings a stick at people. Sorry, I wasn't a hurling guy growing up. I grew up in Wicklow, so we didn't do much hurling back in Wicklow. So
You didn't do much of
what
anything.
made him think that is true? What made him think this was a sport for you from someone who grew up with it? Not grew up. I don't know if you grew up or not with a stick or played hurling for all those years. Young lads are coming up, and when you know what you need. You need a tri-suit. You need to go, have that on you all the time and go swimming, cycling and thing. Where is that connection between hurling to that he thought that was the right sport for you? Because obviously he was right. This is what you do now.
Yeah, I think it was more for the fact that like I was in primary school with him, and then I was in secondary school, and he hurled on the same hurling team as me. So, like, I think it was coming from years of playing in midfield and just being that engine, that powerhouse that was part of that team. And he was like, "This is just made for you. You just run all day. You just go." He's like the way he described me, him being a mechanic. He just goes, "You're a diesel engine." He says, "You just go all day."
What did you feel like? Obviously, when we play that in the field sports and stuff, and as you say, it's all about keeping pace. It's the half a yard pace. It's the explosiveness, the acceleration, and when you're in midfield, it's the engine, I suppose, to keep going for the 70 minutes. When you transitioned into running, or triathlon, for example, how did you find pacing? Was pacing new to you, or did you know what it meant coming from? We knew run fast. We knew not so
I would
fast.
have known pacing because during my time, we had Dave Matthews, who would have been the Irish runner, and he kind of introduced kind of pacing and kind of like a lot of our kind of sessions with him would have been a lot of run sessions, and that's when I would have kind of got introduced to in the zones even, and
Oh, very
like
good. So
a
you
lot
would have
of
had,
our
yeah.
yeah, like we would have known that kind of from an early stage because like even like pre-season for us, he was like go out zone two. He was like, and you're kind of looking going, what the hell is zone two? Like for GA players, literally we're all out, go go go, and you're kind of going, this is not working here. But then as the kind of weeks went on, you could see it was improving. You were getting quicker, like over those distances, and obviously the heart was kind of responding to it all as well. So like it does prove a method of how it works as well. Like so to help knowing those zones going into triathlon helped me then kind of develop my own kind of training as well around that. Like
Usually stuff like that is just flat out training, like you said, and the only thing you're chasing is a ball, all the time. And then now it's kind of pace yourself towards those long distances. But during this whole, like you obviously did a lot in 2024, and I saw a quote on your Instagram. You said it finished with triathlon isn't a sport, it's a lifestyle and a way of life. Did that happen straight away from triathlon? You led towards that and you start adding like, okay, try and hit this event near the end of the year. Let's try and get an Ironman next year. Was that literally the path as soon as you finished that tri-tie in June 2023?
yeah, no, it did become a lifestyle after that because like I think for me, like it was all about still continuing eating healthy. Then it was like just like I was trying to filling that void of kind of obviously with the hurling and whatnot. And then I think when it kind of came into December, I kind of got an indoor trainer, hooked the bike up, and I was doing nearly 2-3 sessions a day, like just jumping on it, just powering away with it. And I think that even kind of showed in the early stages of going into 2024, like obviously in terms of like I had Wales kind of on the calendar. So I was like, right, kind of have to get building on this then.
One of the biggest obstacles to triathlon is swimming. Where were you on the swimming front? Obviously, we've talked about a great engine. We've talked about the cycling. Where were you on the swimming front?
The swimming front, I thought I was good because I
Because
during
you
kind
swam
of
in
when I was in
Malaga in
second.
2015 after a few pints.
Yeah, like I swam
Doing the
like
breaststroke.
yeah, no, like during like secondary school, like I had a lifeguard license, so I was like right grand, like
So you
swim,
could
but
swim-ish.
I could swim ish, but like getting into triathlon's a whole new different story. And then I think at that time I was like I said about like the pike man, I was like the swim got cancelled. I was like happy days, don't have this to deal with. I can run. I think I soon found out that I kind of needed something, and what kind of came up for me Flowstate Swimming was running a kind of athlete program where he was looking for a male and female kind of athlete that he was going to take on board. And he took me under his wing, and I've been under his wing ever since. And like, he's played a major part of all my swimming, and even it's not just the swimming, he's just being there as a coach as well. And like,
So talk us through Flowstate. What's Flowstate? What was involved? What was the
Where's it
criteria?
based?
so the criteria was pretty much what was my goals, what was my ambitions, where I wanted to go, and pretty much outlined that like I wanted to complete Wales and I wanted them to kind of obviously progress further and keep improving. He didn't want somebody that was already at that kind of way. He wanted to develop an athlete and push the athlete on further as well. So Damien was set out at the start. We sat down, we had a Zoom call. We kind of outlined on what I wanted to do, where I was at, and then we started off with lane training with him. So Monday nights was lane training with other groups as well. And then sitting down.
So anyway, you did lane swimming on a Monday.
Yeah, no, so I done lane swimming on a Monday. Then on Wednesday we sat down then and planned out for the week. Are you fucking taking the piss now here with me going through this again? You bollocks. I should have fucking known.
I'm gonna let people in on it. This is the third or fourth time you said to us lane swimming on a Monday, and like I just gonna have to leave this edited in. Eric is getting fed up.
No,
But
not
just
again.
for people listening, Eric is over in Kuwait. He's sick as a dog. Rob has had to change phone stuff already. He's told us the same story 4 times about how he's lane swimming on a Monday is all we've heard. And after 5th time, I think Eric has just cracked up completely.
I don't really care what you did on the Tuesday.
Forget the Tuesday. Fuck the Tuesday.
So you were lane swimming on a fucking Monday?
No, we're not going there.
Wales, we're jumping on to Wales. Flowstate Swimming has helped you build up towards Wales. Was your first Ironman in 2024, the 70.3. Talk us through your expectations building up to that and how you got on at that event.
Yeah, so expectations going into it, were set. Well, I kind of set them high enough for myself going into it, but it was going into the unknown. And I think leading into Wales, I think I went over on the kind of Tuesday and it was like calm enough. And then I think come Friday, the race was on a Sunday. Friday, the harbour master made a decision to pull all the boats into the harbour. Normally they're out and kind of around the buoys and stuff, but the weather started picking up and the waves just started bellowing in. And the expectations kind of went out to the window. It was a quick phone call to Damien kind of going, right, what am I doing here?
Oh, wow.
So it was fairly, and this was the first year they kind of sent us off the opposite direction than they're normally sent off. And there's an Aussie exit, so you pretty much do a loop and get out, get in, go again. We were kind of sent off on the swim and it was grand. It was nearly battling like over Wales. You were literally up and down trying to sight for buoys. You couldn't see it. That was the kind of first lap. Got that done, out of the way. Went out on the second lap. And as we were kind of coming across, like lateral to the bay, to make the kind of turn back into the beach, all of a sudden the buoy was gone. And you can kind of see the group of people around me kind of going, what's going on here? The weather was that bad. The buoy had gone out to sea. And the only thing we could do was literally take a turn and literally head for home. Like, so it was literally, the kayakers were trying to send them straight in as quick as possible. So the expectations for the swim kind of went out the window. It was literally just survival of the fittest and get out.
Yeah, survive the swim and see what happens. And that's what happens when you go lane swimming on a Monday, I suppose. You have that confidence. you have that confidence to take on a challenge like that. So come here. When you get out of the water and you're into the cycle, obviously when you get out of the water and something like that, we had something similar in Portugal. And like that, couldn't see boys. Most of us ended up, you follow the crowd, which is bizarre. You're kind of sitting on the feet in front of you, because you have faith that someone else is looking. Let's call a spade a spade. I'm not first, so I
Yeah.
hope everyone else is looking. And they went in a complete wrong direction. They skipped the buoy and everything, and they were leading us out to sea. And only for a few of us kind of were like, this seems not right. We headed back in. So for me, getting out of the water was like, I'm alive. I'm in a good spot. Let's see if we can take on the rest of the day. How was it for you, or how do you feel? I'm asking a long-winded question here because a lot of people say the swim either makes them or breaks them. For me, it's never going to be good, bad, or indifferent. I'm not going to win the race. It's all about survival. For you, with a swim like that, when something happens, is it just about survival? Is it about making or breaking the race? Obviously, we're progressing to World Championships, so it's getting there. But at that point, what were you with swimming at that point? Where you just like, this is it? I'll make it up on the bike. I'll make it up on the run. And how was your biking? Obviously, 3 sessions a day. You mentioned. Did it stand to you?
Yeah, so the biking was my biggest thing, and I think for me, I was like, right, get out of the swim. That's when my race starts because I can bike and I can
Okay.
bike well.
Yeah.
So that's where I was at for that. But like, I think people kind of forget is about when they kind of get out of the swim in Wales, you still have a kilometre to run the transition because you're
Yeah, it's a long one.
zigzagging the
Yeah.
steps. And like, there's these famous pink bags where you can either leave your runners in and when you get out to throw them on you because you got to run all the way to transition. So you still have to kind of factor that in. And people to be like, oh, they're taking that off the marathon at the end. No, that's part of your transition.
And do you have your runners with you?
Yeah, no, I threw a pair of runners in just so I could slip them on and get going. Because it did like the big decision as well, like do you take off your wetsuit, do you leave it on? What do you do? Like, so lucky enough I registered early that week and I kind of got a low number. So I was pretty much on the bottom of the ramp when I got out. So it made sense to kind of put the runners on. But if I had a kind of higher number and I would have been at the top of the ramp, it was kind of at that stage, it was kind of like, what's the point? I'm nearly after kind of doing
What's the
half
point?
now at this stage. You can just keep going.
So when it comes to plan, prep, and expectations, obviously you're very new to racing. Never mind Ironman. What was your expectation of yourself on the cycle? Give some background to some people. Some people will say, I'm going to hold X amount of power and we're going to just try and maintain a certain power. I'm going to try and do, like, obviously it's a very hilly course. I'm going to try and maintain this time or that, or, what was your strategy? And then I suppose then the expectation.
The strategy was kind of had on the bike computer was literally my watts and the heart rate, and it was to kind of keep both in check and kind of like the whole thing going around the bike course was like, don't push too hard. You still have a marathon to run here. It's not a flat marathon; it's a hilly marathon. So it was literally trying not to push too hard, even though I know the bike is my thing. So I kind of had to back off a good bit sometimes when I was kind of going spiking a bit on some of the hills. But then again, I was like, right, you have to be clever here. This is my first Ironman. I'm new to this. I have to be kind of clever. I can't just go all out like. So it was just kind of getting into the head and the mindset of kind of stay focused and don't do something stupid.
Yeah, don't burn out, I suppose, too early. It's a
Yeah,
long one.
just
And obviously running, I'd say you, based on what you've said already, you kind of think running is probably one of your stronger parts. Would it be?
out of the three disciplines, I'd kind of go bike, run, and swim. Obviously coming from the GAA in terms of we're constantly running, I think kind of those distances are completely different to kind of on a field sport where you're just kind of
Yeah.
those short bursts. And like you could be covering about 10K a game, depending on a specific game. But like that would be the max you'd be kind of covering. But with those distance coming in, like it was kind of a rude awakening as well. Like throughout the year, like leading into that Ironman, like I'd done my 470.3 in Tyrone. Like everything was my first of everything. So they were all kind of building steps into it. Like so.
When you get off that bike and you've got the thoughts of a marathon, and I kind of said is running, like, I suppose, because running was your foundation growing up, probably was a better way of putting it in there. But the thoughts of a marathon and being your first marathon after the swim and after a 180-kilometer cycle, what's the feeling of that?
The feeling is just like you get off and you're like going, after you do the first loop, you're like going, got to do this another 3 times. And you're kind of going, and like in Wales, when you kind of come out of transition, you're kind of going through the town, and like you're getting the buzz, the entertainment, and then all of a sudden you just hit this long, dragging climb all the way out of, and you're gonna go, I have to do this another 3 times. How am I going to do this? Like, and it's just about the grit and just grinding it out.
The fact that a few months before that you had done Dublin in 2023, did it make it easier or harder starting Dublin fresh legs, knowing what you to do, and then whatever you may have suffered or not suffered going through that, knowing you had to put yourself through that, having done 180k, having done the swim, all these long transitions, and now you're 4 loops with these climbs, and you've got 3 more to go. Was Dublin something that you're able to go, I've gotten through this marathon before, or was it, oh my God, what the hell's ahead of me?
No, I think I had, with Dublin in the legs, I knew what was coming and what was ahead of me. So I could kind of mentally prepare myself for what was coming ahead. And I think that was a bonus, that I knew how to kind of like, what, not even pace myself, but be clever on the climbs, the long dragging climbs. It was like not push too hard. And then when I got onto the like flat sections where I could open out the stride and build back a bit of time as well on it. So it was just like that kind of, that like doing Dublin, I'd say, kind of educated me towards the marathon in Wales.
At what stage during this run did it click? I'm gonna finish this. I'm gonna have this announcer is about to tell me you are an Ironman. Did that pop into your head anywhere before seeing the finish line? Did you know what, I actually have this, the legs are gonna hold out, I'm gonna get through? Or was it a case of like, Jesus, until I see that finish line, I don't know if I'm gonna make it or not?
Well, see, the thing with like some of the Ironman is, part of the course you pass nearly the finish line before you get that little runoff section towards it. So every
So
time
you're
I can,
constantly hearing people saying that.
yeah, you constantly, when you're running by, all you hear is you are an Ironman. You're like kind of going, when am I going to get to that feeling? And like you're kind of go, I'm have to head back off out of town now and then come back in, hear it again, and you're kind of like going, I need to get, and like on some of the loop courses, they give you kind of like wristbands to kind of go, this is your first lap, second lap. And like there's at times there you're kind of heading out on the laps, and then this someone just comes flying by and you're kind of going, where is he off to? What's he after taking? And you realise, you look at the wrists, they're literally after coming in off the bike and they're full of energy and they're like going, yeah, I'm on a run. And you're kind of going, you won't be doing this the next lap. So
Wasn't a horrible moment in my one. Like I was 12 of 54 or 13 hours or whatever it was. So I thought like back of the pack. And we were coming up the final stretch after hearing you're going to be an Ironman, all the laps, because you have to run past it 3 times and go back out. And me and
yeah,
one other fella struggling up the hill. I was like, this is it. We're about to be an Ironman. He turned to me and was like, I've one more lap. I was like, oh no.
Jeez.
It is a horrible feeling. I felt so bad. I was so happy I hadn't got one more, but it was, yeah, I couldn't
you were kind
imagine
of
put
like,
myself
see you
in his.
later. I'm going this way.
Yeah, see you later. I'll be in bed by the time you finish.
Yeah.
It is good though, the laps. I do think it is good. I'd prefer the lap route than a kind of if you just disappeared for 42k and came back.
Yeah, no, like mentally for me, I know the laps. So like I know, right, I can push. There's an aid station here. There's,
Yeah,
do you know what I mean?
you learn it.
You know what's coming ahead of you. Like, and I think for me, I picked an aid station and I'd kind of jog through it. I take some salt tablets on board, get in the fuel while I can, and then I'd go again. So that was, I knew that like mentally that like I was working towards that aid station. That was my kind of, where I could back off a small bit and then I can kind of tip on again. I think that's what kind of helps with those kind of loops as well. And like I think, like even in Nice, it was the same thing. We had the loops again.
Now, before we jump on to Nice, obviously you come off your first Ironman, which is a fantastic achievement, and anyone who's looking to get in, like it is, we say it when every time we have a triathlete on who's done Ironman, they put on a fantastic show. Even if you're not a triathlete, it makes you want to do it. Coming off the back of that Ironman, it was a long road between what you've just done last week and that Ironman. What was on that road? What were the next steps after the Ironman? Obviously, recover, and then the bug is obviously still there. So what were your next steps?
The next steps after that was like, I think was it 3 weeks, and then I was off to Tombolinas for the World Championships with Ireland, and then I think then competed over there. The different scenario again, like because that was Olympic distance, and then that was also then competing within the heat as well. That was a different scenario completely compared to Wales, where
How do you,
it's like been.
sorry to cross you, Rob. How do you become eligible for a World Olympic team?
So within Ireland,
Olympic distance
the
team.
yeah, so within Ireland, we have like even during the duathlon season, the top three in the age group can qualify and put their name forward for that team to participate. It's just that Triathlon Ireland haven't made it that accessible for individuals. And now, in saying that, like when I did go, there was no funding from Triathlon Ireland. It was literally you had to buy your own tri suit and like either try get some sponsors to help you out. So like there was no kind of backing from Triathlon Ireland. So I think that was kind of an eye opener for me. Like even though I was going to represent Ireland, it didn't really seem part of an Irish team as such. Until we actually got there and met other athletes, but like you were still funding this all by yourself.
It's not an easy gig to fund, especially when you consider the level of training that's required. Like you said, you like representing your country is always a nice thing. You would think there'd be something there for it, but you put yourself forward, I suppose. So you take on that. You want the pride of the day. What is it like then to arrive at a World Championships and see world class athletes?
Yeah, like it was different than any kind of other sport because like we were kind of just sitting in a random cafe and you had the likes of Hayden Wild walk in, kind of just sit down, have his coffee. Like normally, like when you're sitting in those kind of top end athletes are kind of secluded away from kind of everyday
Yeah.
athletes as such. It was just like everybody was intermingling, and like even at that was the first kind of introduction that I kind of met Sean and Donica as well. I know Sean and Donica have kind of been on before with you guys. That was the kind of introduction as well to those guys as well. Because I've kind of been meeting up with them as well for a few training sessions. So like kind of building those connections as well with those other athletes as well was good.
How did you do in your age group? Were you smoked just because you went
Yeah,
lane
it
swimming? Days?
it was a literally massive eye opening
Like
because like
I
But
want to
that
say,
has to be motivating though to see
no,
that level
no,
of talent and stuff
I'm
and
not
what
joking.
is ahead.
It's phenomenal. It is phenomenal, and I know we're making light of the situation, but it's like I'd like to race Usain Bolt just to know, you know, when you go to World Championships, what is that feeling like when you're like, wow?
yeah, you're just looking going, how are they so quick? Like I know at the end of the day it's their job and it's what they do every day of the week, but you're just looking kind of going, that is a whole new level. Like as much as like I'm training and like I feel like I'm being professional about my own training, that there's a whole nother 3 or 4 steps that these guys are way ahead. They're out in their own league, like, and that's why they are where they are, like.
When you finish the World Triathlon Championships, are you motivated to train more? Because you're already talking about at this point, you're on the bike 3 times a day. Obviously, you're doing your lane swimming on a Monday. You're doing all swims. You're doing the run and stuff going up, and you're doing all this sort of stuff. And you go back to Ironman Wales the following year, and it's a different story. And you're gonna make me try and butcher a big word here: hemochromatosis and REDS. Is this overtraining that leads towards this, that leads to these kind of issues, and is it common towards triathletes? Because this is out of my field now, but we have had nutritionists come on the podcast, talk about REDs, talk about overtraining, different things like that. Am I on the right track here, Rob? Or
Yeah, so like after all that kind of with Wales and everything, like kind of same thing again. Kind of come December, I kind of put the head down, increased the training, but it was me not being aware of the kind of fueling that I needed to be doing. So I was kind of
right?
consistently kind of going, right, I'm having a decent breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and I'm maybe having a snack in between. And this was kind of building on from obviously that GAA perspective as well, where we were kind of educated in that perspective, where like, look, you got to look after the body, get the intakes that you need. But kind of throughout the triathlon season, I was like feeling good. Yeah, everything's going well. Then kind of it would have went away with swim camp with Damien in May, and then I targeted then the new T100 kind of style that Atai was running, and that was kind of my target for the year. That I was kind of like, right, this is going to set me up now nicely for the world champs. It's a nice kind of middle distance. Went into that race kind of feeling prepared. Had coming off the back of a good kind of swim camp in May, and like I was like, right, got out of the swim, went out on the bike, lost a bit of nutrition, had a bit of a disaster day, and thinking that it was like obviously I lost my nutrition, had a puncture, went out on the run, the quad wasn't well. I just kind of put that down to kind of like it was just a bad day at the office. So that was like my first ever DNF, and it was for me it was a bitter pill to kind of swallow because I'd never not finished the race because I'd be taking stubborn to kind of just plow on and kind of finish it out. But I kind of like, no, in the back of my mind, the world champs was there. I was like, I have to be clever about this. So I kind of, that was the first DNF. And I was like, right, grand, I'll go back training. Didn't take any kind of heed of it. But I knew, and then it was kind of then leading into Tyrone then. I just was kind of going out on runs. I was feeling tired. I'd do a session and I'd be like, geez, it's 7 o'clock. I'm tired. I'm wrecked. And I knew there was something kind of wasn't right. I knew just I wasn't me. So I kind of went to the doctor and I was like, here, look, I'm looking to kind of get bloods done. Just kind of want to see. And at that stage, they kind of identified that I was low in B12. So I went on kind of a few weeks of kind of injections and I felt the kind of boost. And I was like, right, feeling a bit better here. We've kind of got down to the nitty gritty of what's going on. And then I went back to that same thing again, tired on the bike, didn't have any power in the legs. I was like, something's just not right. So I went back for a second round of bloods. And with that, then got the results back then. And the doctor was like, you've got massive high iron levels. And I was like, okay, what do we do for this?
Sure, I'm an Ironman. What do you expect?
Pretty much. I was like, right, don't know what's going on here. So then he was like, look, we'll do a bit digging a bit deeper, and it's kind of common in Irish people that like we do have hemochromatosis, but it doesn't come to the forefront until we're actually training or we're working like in high level sports that it's kind of made aware of. So at that when that kind of came around, then I was like, oh, is there any kind of anything else at the back of this? Because at that time I think Lionel Sanders kind of came out where he kind of had came to the forefront and saying that he had REDS, which is the relative energy deficiency, and within sports. And I kind of just I don't know what it was, just kind of twigged in my mind. And I just kind of said to him, is there any potential that this could be related as well to this? So digging through the results sent me off to kind of get more bloods done. And then looking back and through all those results, that came as well. So I had hemochromatosis, the REDS, all at the forefront, and I had to kind of manage all that through the few months. And then I went on to Tyrone, then 70.3, thinking that I kind of had a grasp of it. And same again, got into the swim, got the swim done, happy with the swim, got out, then went out on the bike. And it was like someone just flicked the switch. Just the legs were spinning and there was just no power. Down in
Rob, when you
nutrition.
said you think you had a grasp of it, what are we doing at this stage? Like, are you? I know you said you're getting the B12 injections and stuff, but is it fueling? Is it other? You're getting supplements of some kind to balance out your eye levels. Like, what are you trying to do at this stage, man? Because people could be thinking now if because REDS is something come up a lot. We haven't actually had someone on the podcast that's been through it, so it's been very vague in the podcast when we've talked about it, and it's something that we don't know too much about. So what
Yes.
were you doing to try and balance at this stage?
So me being kind of thinking that I kind of knew what I was doing at that stage was obviously with the hemochromatosis. I was obviously staying away from the red meat. I was staying away from the likes of spinach and stuff I was like staying away from vitamin C, because vitamin C actually turns those into high iron levels and helps it kind of grow. So that was me kind of cutting all those out. And like me, obviously, kind of coming from the kind of GA background, was like, you know yourself, red meat is great for you. Like, it's whatnot. So like me cutting that out, I was back to kind of chicken, turkey, kind of around that. And then I thought I was getting on top of that, but wasn't really paying much attention to the red side of things until it was more so after Tyrone, where I was like, right, something I need to kind of speak to a specialist in this. And my time away in Torremolinas, one of the girls actually on the Irish team, Anna Lawler, she was a physio from up north, and she actually done a study on the women's kind of side of reds, and it actually just twigged with me. So I actually put a message out to her, kind of going, here, like, what can I do, or where do I need to kind of go with this? So she sent me on a survey that she used to kind of use with the Ulster women's cycling team. And she was like, look, it's not tailored towards you. She said, but kind of go through the kind of survey and see, does this link back to you? So I went through that, kind of answering a kind of few questions and stuff. And it was like, yeah, grand. And then she was like, right, you kind of need to either work with a nutritionist or dietitian to kind of see, to help you kind of get back on course. It's a lot easier to kind of spot reds within female athletes than it is male, because with the female athletes, they kind of lose their cycle. So they won't have a cycle at all. So then it can be identified. With males, we lose kind of that kind of sex drive, and like that hormone level kind of reduces. So what's happening with the body is it's kind of shutting down stuff that it doesn't really need on a day-to-day basis. So it's putting all the energy where it needs to be, like with kind of moving the body and stuff like that. So that's where it kind of drops all those levels. And I think that's where I then kind of had come across Neve, who was on the podcast. So kind of put a shout out to Neve, and Neve kind of had me across a week, just kind of documenting my intake in a week of training as well, and on a daily basis. And she found that, like, even though was having decent meals in the morning, breakfast and dinner, I was massively still under fueling for all these sessions. So the main thing then was for me then to fuel before I was going into a session, during the session, and after the session. So even though I was having those 3 meals, I still had to fuel as well within those sessions as well, to bring up all those carbs as well. So I think that's where I was massively coming down.
Not to dumbify it down, but in terms of, do you have any idea in terms of calories what you're on before to now, or did Neve go through that with you? Like, were you like,
Yeah, so like
how many
I
calories
thought,
does
like,
someone like you need to have a day?
so I was looking at, like, thinking like 4,000 calories, like, yeah, perfect, like hitting them. But it was more realistic, around 7,000 I should have been hitting, between the volume of training that I was doing. And like for someone that like has a desk job, trying to train and get that volume of quantity of food into me, it was kind of looking for foods that was kind of easy accessible, but was also providing me with the carbs I needed as well.
I could get the food in handy, not the training. Yes,
I can see you going with that.
Yeah, I was
that is
waiting for
definitely
that
it.
one.
So, Rob, when we look at Res, obviously you worked with Neve, you kind of figured out where you were lacking. How long is a piece of string? For the recovery time to start to feel like you had power in the legs again, when you started actually fueling, I know it's very difficult, but when you started adding in the few extra, I'm sure there was add a slice of honey or a drop of honey extra, or you were just being clever with how you were adding in your calories. Did you start to see a difference in yourself quickly, or was it a slow process to get back to yourself?
It's a very, very slow process. Like even going into Nice, I still see myself at like 60% going into Nice. I still wasn't 100%, because in terms of kind of getting myself back on track, I've got to reduce the cardio. I've got to kind of just kind of lay back off the cardio and kind of bring the carbs back, allow the body to kind of naturally come back on board and start utilizing everything else that it's going to shut down. So like for me now at the moment, even though like I've finished everything kind of racing and stuff, my main thing at the moment now is obviously I still kind of need to be a bit active because I don't want everything that I've just trained for just to kind of go out the window. Is that I kind of have to look at different kind of ways that I can train, but it's not cardio based in terms of like back to the swimming and then just maybe more gym work more so, and then slowly working towards building the bike back into it. So that's where I'm kind of at the moment in terms of kind of recovering from this. So it's just going to be a real kind of slow process to kind of bring that back around.
What was your mindset like in Nice, knowing that you're at 60% in terms of you're on the bike and obviously going through, you're racing the world championships, you're seeing all these people trying to catch and all the rest. You're gonna get tired at some stage. What part of your head when you're was it like, oh my god, this is the switch where I don't have it. I'm gonna DNF again. To oh, I'm just feeling tired. Is there a different feeling to right? I'm pushing hard in this session, or I'm pushing hard in the World Championships. I'm feeling tired, and this the reds and just being like, I know there's no coming back from this. There's no second wind, and this is gonna be a DNF.
I think the big thing for me was I had kind of I was in contact with Nikki Bartlett, one of the pros from the UK. I kind of built up a relationship with her, kind of communicating back and forth. I know she's kind of had a tough year ahead. Yeah, no, she's been kind of real inspirational in terms of kind of giving me the insight of kind of the mindset as well. And I think for me, I kind of had a good kind of conversation with Nikki heading into the World Championships, knowing that what was ahead of me, and her main advice was just pace yourself. She's like, the course is brutal. She's like, just pace yourself. She says, you know, you're going into this, you're only 60%. She says, be cute about this. She says, you're there to get that medal. You've worked hard for it. Go get it. She was like, just pace yourself. Like, and even at one stage, coming, I think I was at about 170k on the bike, coming back along the prom, it was literally like the legs were kind of going, oh no, you've got to get going down a marathon now. And at that stage, it was like, no, we have this, we've done, like, it's in the body, it's in the legs can do it. It's just, we just have to get off this bike and get moving. And it was just all in the mindset to kind of constantly, like that saying kind of goes, and Ironman is like, just keep moving forward. And that's all that was in my mindset, was just keep moving forward.
It obviously, maybe this is the wrong way to say it. Did it take a bit of pressure off knowing that you were coming into this at 60%? It was just get around, be proud. It's a World Championships. Did it take a bit of pressure off? Is it a little bit disappointing? Does it leave you wanting more? Where does that leave you now? Well, one, in the lead into it, how did it feel? And then afterwards, obviously, you've already mentioned changing the tactics for a little while, but where does it leave you now? Because obviously, a World Championships is an amazing thing to be at.
Mm.
Yeah, no, like it's still like, I'm disappointed that I'm not at 100% because like the competitive nature in me wants to be racing and wants to race the best of the best. I think for me, I went out to Nice early enough. Nearly, I went out to Thursday before the race the week prior to that. So I kind of had a week there before the race was there, and I done a few runs in the heat, and I knew what was kind of coming ahead of me, and I just kind of had to sit myself down and be realistic and kind of go, look, you're not 100% here. Your goal is completely different to everybody else's goal here. You're after getting to a world champs. You're only at 60%, and your goal is to finish this. You've DNF'd, do you know what I mean, a T100. You've DNF'd a 70.3. Like, you're staring down the barrel here at an Ironman, which is pretty much double of what you've DNF'd. So it was the goal of just get across that line.
When you're talking about getting across the line, I'm not too sure that this question totally applies to you. But then again, you know, you have, for example, a T-shirt you're wearing there, you know, you Flowstate there, and I know you came from a team background, but like you work with a lot of people now with Perform Nutrition and everything else, and you're a Perform athlete. And there's other people as well, and just the coaching and stuff that's put you towards world championships. Do you ever feel external pressures to like get not a decent time, but a time or a finish, or just to keep pushing from them? Or do you feel like it's just at that stage it's what you can do, it's a solo effort? Or do you feel like other people are kind of not expectations from others on you, but do you know where I'm going with that?
Yeah, I think I know what you're kind of saying. Like, to be honest, with the kind of team that I have in terms of the sponsors and the coaching I have, I don't think any of them ever kind of put an expectation on me. They're there to support me and understand what I'm doing. I think I put the expectations on myself, because even going into the swim, it was a non-wetsuit swim, and like I'd never done a kind of non-wetsuit swim before, and I had an expectation on myself that with Damien putting all that kind of effort and everything into me, kind of getting me up to speed and getting me ready, that I wanted to kind of do him justice in the swim and pull out a good time. So it was me kind of putting that pressure more so on me, like, because he was pretty much like, here, look, you're after getting to the start line. That's the biggest achievement that we had, was to get me to the start line and getting to that finish line. So he was like, look, go and enjoy it.
So, Rob, 2023, we picked up triathlon. We've been to world championships in the Olympic stage, as in the Olympic distance. You've done the world championship now in Nice. You're at a stage of recovery into the winter, with the hopes that we can bring it back for spring of new year. What are your plans from here?
Plans from here, I have been kind of looking at a few things. If
It
they all
could be
go
the
to plan,
shortest triathlon career in the history.
it could be. Yeah.
I even think I've done triathlon longer than you now, Rob. Come on now.
Nah, Eric, when was your last triathlon race? Now put him back in his box in that one.
I think
When
he's
he
been
started,
dabbling in and out of it.
2023.
He's gone a runner now. Eric's gone a runner now.
But
He's taking up
what
the
is the
running.
plan in all seriousness?
I think the plan for me at the moment is I've kind of been looking at actually the ballot opens this Friday, is the Norseman in Norway.
What's
So
that?
it is basically an Ironman distance. That's a race in Norway, and you're pretty much jumping off the ship and you're swimming in pretty much ice cold water. The bike is like pretty much Nice and Wales, it's all uphill. And then the marathon then consists onto a side of a mountain, and only the first 160 get to actually go up the mountain, and the rest kind of finish off the marathon somewhere else. But like, this is the only kind of triathlon where you can actually have a team on course and actually have assistance. So I've been kind of looking at that. If that doesn't come to fruition, I am kind of looking at another Ironman where a nice kind of flat course where I can actually go and get a nice bit of speed and see where my true kind of Ironman time lies.
They are two very, very different plans. Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
So I might have or well, look, I suppose it's probably a tough question to ask given where you're at right now. So you're still kind of figuring it out, and I know we make jokes, but I suppose as we do move towards December into January, those kind of, well, obviously we throw our names to whatever ballots and entries we get, and that sometimes dictates where we go. But hopefully the training and recovery kind of dictates where you go from that as well, and you answer those questions. When it comes to that training, setting an Ironman task is quite big, considering what we've just said about recovering and adapting the training to recover. Is the full Ironman a sensible choice? Are you confident to take it on in the new year? Do you give yourself enough time to build yourself back up, or what way do you plan for that, given the current situation of being 60%?
I think the current situation and the current main target at the moment is get the health back. There's no point in, like, yeah, it's great, like you were saying, like, throw my name into the ballot. It's obviously great to like look for something further on, but I think the main goal for me is to get the health back and being able to compete more so at the level I can compete at, instead of kind of going into these races kind of 60% and just kind of enjoying it, where I'd rather kind of be at 100% and kind of tackle them at that kind of competitive level.
Well, Rob, hopefully you do get back to 100% and best luck wherever you got going in 2026. Not going to lie, I mean this in your best interest. I kind of hope you don't get that Norway thing, because that sounds absolutely insane. You get to go for an Ironman PB next year. But with that said, thank you very much. And that is this week's episode of the Any Given Run Day podcast. And myself, Rob, and Eric, take care.